Welcome.
That I played to figure things out. I played to learn something, right? Because I think if you play with a fear of failure, or you play with the will to win, or that supersedes the fear of failure, I think it's a weakness either way, right? Because if you play with the fear of failing, you'll have the pressure on yourself to play, to capitulate to that fear. If you play with the sense of I want to win, then you have the fear of what happens if you don't. But if you find common ground in the middle, in the center, then it doesn't matter. You're unfazed by either, right? And that enables you to really just stay in the moment, stay connected to it, and not feel anything other than what's in front of you.
BBall who reacted.
And to express myself honestly, that, my friend, is very hard to do. And you have to train. You have to keep your reflexes so that when you want it, it's there. When you want to move, you're moving. And when you move, you are determined to move. Not taking 1 inch, not anything less than that. If I want to punch, I'm going to do it, man, and I'm going to do it, you see? So that is the type of thing you have to train yourself into it, to become one with the...
Welcome to season 1, episode 1, BBall Talk Concepts. All right, I appreciate you for coming to this video. Again, please like and subscribe. Put your comments down below as we continue to grow this page. This is a team, and I've been encouraged to come through. And hopefully this is kind of like a masterclass. So my name is Coach X. That's intentional. I'm still actively coaching, well known, and I want to make sure that, I can give you everything without, giving away my secrets to other coaches directly. All right, so let's get into business while we are here. We're here to talk concepts. So something I've noticed with a lot of players that I coach is that guys starting to lose the fundamentals, and in losing the fundamentals, you lose the tools to get better and to learn and appreciate the game the way it should be. Again, that's just a personal insight of mine. And you're asking, who's this guy? What are you talking about? All right, so I've been playing the game for a very long time. I've been around basketball on all different levels. My favorite is high school and middle school. But I've been, again, many different levels. I've coached many different types of players. I've been a player myself. I've been to summer camps, a lot of well-known D1 camps, played for, seen how the game runs, see how different coaches operate. And what I really want to bring here is something that I wish I had when I was younger as a player that would have given me a leg up against my competition. And there isn't anything on the internet like it. And so what I hope to help you with, as my main focus has been player development over the last couple of years, is to make you a better player, to lock you in, and to make you a better teammate on the floor. All right, we're here to execute. All right, so again, as we start things off, let's lock in, focus, and compete. All right, so on this diagram, I just wanted to break out some early principles of the game, spots on the floor that you need to know. Okay, we have the center court line where we have jump ball. You see the free throw line here. This is the restricted area. You have 3 seconds to be in. You see a lot of big men tiptoe out, so all you have to do is put 1 foot out, 1 foot in, and that resets the 3 count. There's a no charge semicircle under the basket. If you get your 2 feet set or a charge outside of this, you have a good chance of getting it. If your foot is on the line or you're in the circle, it will be deemed a foul. All right, foul on you, defensive foul. All right, so we have free throw rebound places. There are other pit spots that are on the next slide that I'll show you. This is the 3-point line. I know everybody loves the 3-point line. People focus on it as one of the main emphasis in the game now, thanks to some of the great shooters that we have in the game now. You have the throwing line, the center line. The ref will show you where that is during the game. But let's just quickly talk about this 3-point line. All right, I know everybody loves the 3-point line. I played as a 2-guard, 3-guard growing up, and I focused on that as well. But one thing I noticed in playing the game is that the best scorers aren't typically three-point shot first shooters. they operate in this mid area or attacking the bucket. LeBron's getting ready to be the highest scorer in the league over Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, not just because of his three-pointers. He didn't really develop that three-pointers game until later in his career, and he's still not shooting over 40%. He got it from attacking the cup, from the work that he does under the three-point line. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, same thing. He wasn't a three-point shooter under the three-point line. Karl Malone, under the three-point line. Kevin Durant, majority of his points come from under the three-point line. The mid-range game. If you have a nice shot, you got a good soft touch on the rim, you have good height and length, you'll eat up in this area. We're seeing players like B.I., Brandon Ingram, ascend in this area because of his ability to get the mid-range. Kobe, everybody loves Kobe. His mid-range game was elite. When he first got into the league, he was known as a striker. He got into the paint, he finished. He was never a good three-point shooter, but he was able to attack the bucket when he was 8. And then as he aged to 24, number 24, what do we see? Started operating that high post. Started working that mid-range game. We see it with Kawhi Leonard, Michael Jordan. You know, some of his most notorious shots weren't threes. They were in that high post area. And we'll get into why that is and why it's such a hard area to guard. Some of them are obvious, some of them aren't as obvious, and I hope that we can have a conversation and really develop that. All right, so, you know, the shortest three-pointers from the corner, it's about 22 feet. The rest are 23. Depending on what hand you shoot with, it's just a good indicator of what side of the hoop you're best to shoot at on the wing and what corner. All right, so next slide. All right, so we have multiple positions on the court. We have the top, high post, the elbows, which I love. We just talked about that briefly, and the low post, something that's slowly fading away in the game, but big men are starting to realize that that's really the milk and honey. And I think that we'll see a resurgence with more physically strong players coming into the league. Zion is one that comes to mind. He operates in the low post, but he typically squares up with the basket instead of backing up, or he backs up and then spins. You'll see LeBron. He implemented that a lot last year before. We have short corners, which typically it's either called short corners, or we also hear them called, let me write it up here, dunker. All right, dunker spots. All right, and it's the same thing right there, dunker spots. And I'll explain why that is. You have the corner shots. Corner specialists are important. Players like PJ Tucker have made careers out of this. Players like Patrick Beverly have always said they're good corner shots, and I'll also explain why that is. And then you'll notice on the screen that there are 5 numbers. All right, so typically growing up, all I heard was point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. But as the game is starting to develop and we're starting to get small ball lineups and players aren't as identical to those positions as they used to be, we're starting to see numbers become more of an ideal way of calling out the players. And so we have the 1, which is always the point guard, the 2 and the 3. The 2, typically the shooting guard. The 3 is the small forward. In most setups, the 2 will be the person providing support for the point guard. That means the point guards get doubled coming up. The 2 is the first one to come down to help with the ball. Pretty much everything the 1 can do, the 2 can. For my coaches out there, in a lot of situations, you'll end up with your 1 being your best ball handler, especially from middle school and high school, and it also means the best scorer. That means it's very important to develop that 2, to kind of play in that 1 role. We see it often for the old heads in here. The 2, like Allen Iverson, who typically played the 1, he wasn't unlocked until they got Eric Snow to break down the offense with him. And there's a lot of different instances of that, but I think AI is one of the best ones where you watch it and you're like, he's really a 2 guard, but because he's so good, he can operate in both spaces. Right now, we're seeing Russell Westbrook struggle as he's lost some of his step because he can't play a 2 guard position because he hasn't developed those skills that make you a 2 guard. A 2 guard kind of is a mix between the 1 and the 3, right? You have the 3 who's a wing player, often the biggest of the front court players. Front court is the big guys. Front court are the big men down low. Back court are the guards up top. All right, and 3 is typically the biggest backcourt, and 3 is one of the most important positions on the floor because of their ability to switch and their ability to affect almost everywhere on the floor. That's why you see them often be the highest paid players, the most acclaimed players. You'll see the 3 and dunker spots. You'll see them working in low post. They operate everywhere on the floor, and if they're as good as LeBron James is, they'll even come up and you'll see them play point sometimes. All right, 4 and the 5, who to me really make things go, especially when we're talking about coaches who love to run plays, and that's because they are typically the initial screeners. All right, initial screeners. All right, and as initial screeners, they are the ones who are responsible for getting the wings loose, at least initially. All right, and let's actually make him set a screen on for 3. And then I like to call it, I say latent roller, but they are also delayed rollers. And if you are on, let's say, elementary, middle, even high school, if you have an intelligent big, this could be an incredibly powerful position, because if they know how to roll and when to take off and how to set their man behind them and box out, you can get a lot of easy shots for your team with how they roll. Okay, but we're going to get into all of that in much later videos. This is just initial introductions. Okay, let me get this off the screen. Let's talk a little bit about the short corner, which is along the baseline. Short corner in the NBA currently right now is really popular because there's so many athletic bigs out there. The first one that comes to mind was a younger DeAndre Jordan with the Clippers. You see Jared Allen benefit a lot from there. One of my favorite short corner finishers right now, Clint Capella. You'll see him and Trae Young. Trae Young will attack his man, breaking his man down, getting into the paint. Clint Capella will hang out in the short corner spot, or as we called it earlier, the dunker spot, which is slightly below the low post. If you watch the games, you'll even sometimes see Clint Capella actually set up behind the basketball hoop and then come out. That's just to give him a big drop step so he can rise up. As Trae gets to the inside, all eyes are what? On him. And what we'll see is the center step up some to try to defend the one that got into the paint, and he'll throw an alley-oop or dunk. Okay, for my guys who can't dunk, alley-oop is not necessary. Throw a pass. I recommend you throw a bounce pass, but we see multiple passes work. The reason why I say bounce pass is because it gives the big a chance to gather with the ball. But it really depends on, it gives a big chance to gather with the ball, as well as it's harder for the defense to get their hands on it. For a lot of my players, and we're talking about like middle school here, so more advanced guards, it's not for you. It's for the younger guys. You'll see typically a lot of steals on chest passes when you're too close or when there's a lot of traffic in here. So I want the guards to have a feel for it, but don't be afraid to drop a bounce pass in. 5, you collect, finish off the glass. 4, same thing for you. You can work in the short corner. A lot of setups now that we see in more advanced players, our coaches will use, since everyone can shoot 1 to 5, you'll see everyone spread out. So we'll have 2 shooters in the corner. Well, not 2 shooters, but the 4 and the 5 in the corner, and the wings 3, 2, 1. And the reason why this is valuable is because it opens up the restricted area so that our players can attack the hoop without having a big inside. Now, of course, this is all predicated on how good of a shooter your 5 and your 4 is. If they're not good, then the guy will just sag off, which will clog back up the hoop, and it really is a wasted action. Ben Simmons struggled with this. Since he couldn't shoot, he couldn't hang out in the short corner, which benefited him as an athletic dunker. But when teams, more advanced teams with good coaching, caught on to that, hey, this guy can't shoot, they just left him over there, and he had a roaming player. Now, think about this. What if Ben Simmons is on the side of the floor with the Kyrie Irving? If he's over there, he's getting no attention. Kyrie has to operate mainly in this mid area because getting to the hoop is likely to get him doubled. And if he kicks out to Ben Simmons, there's really no point. He's not going to shoot the ball. And if he does, it's likely not going to be a make. So Steve Kerr has to really work on particular plays that Ben has to recognize. It's important that he recognizes that if you can't shoot, you better recognize where you are on the floor and not get in the way of the people that can shoot. So I really like the plays where we see Ben operate in the high post and then maybe come up to the one sometimes. But you want him passing. You want to put him in situations where he's attracting traffic versus being distracted. So let me show you some examples of what I mean here. So in orange, actually in red, we're going to put areas where he's not effective, where shooters aren't effective. All right. So all this is not effective for him. Now, not to pick on Ben Simmons, but let's just say a player in general who can't shoot, he's not going to be effective even right inside the 3-point line. His only effective area is this space in the green, right in front of the hoop, right? And you say, but wait, that's not fair because he's a great passer. So, well, he could be a great passer. He can pass out. That's true. But if he's not an effective passer out, if he's not inside of this green area, so this is where his body, where he should operate in order to set up passes to guys on the outside who can't shoot. So when you have a player like that, they have to stay in constant motion because this is a restricted area. So everyone has to operate on a string and kind of support him in getting into this area and then trusting that he makes the right spot. So sorry if this is hurting your guys' eyes. Let's go ahead and get the red out of there, but we're going to keep the green up to show where we want that player to get the ball. Let's say the forward gets the ball, then we want the big to then roll to the basket and operate in the short corner, offering him passing lanes, right? If we have good shooters, we want the shooters to make themselves available. It's awkward to pass back in most situations. Really good passers are good at that, but it's harder to get the ball. You give the defense more time to react, rather, if you're behind the passer. So 3, if he sees the non-shooting big get the ball, you start to migrate down towards the corner. 2, the same. You always have the option of cutting, providing passing lanes, read the offense, and then 1, you'll want to roam unless you're absolutely open, just in case he needs to have an exit pass to throw back out. All right, I got into a little more detail than I wanted to get to there, but just to give you an idea of what the general setup would be, you'll see the 4 close to the elbow, the 2 on the wing, 3 on the wing, and the corners are typically left vacant, at least in initial setups. In plays, you'll see them be used. They're really hard to close out to in this corner, but you got to have good corner shooters. You can get really embarrassing if you don't have the shooters in the corner, the type of shooters in the corner like JJ Redick, who can knock on that shot over and over again in the play. It can really hurt your offense, throw things off. A brick from over here is harder than a harder to rebound brick than anywhere else on the floor. All right, so you got a taste of what we'll be getting into this season, but I want to continue to move on. This is going to be a quick video, just an intro to the basics of what we'll be doing. All right, so right now, I want you to stare at this picture, and I want you to tell yourself, either out loud or in your head, what this means to you. Does this resonate? Have you been in this situation? Have you put yourself in a situation where you're either the first person there in the gym by yourself, or 1 or 2 people there by yourself in the gym, or you've been the last person to leave the gym? Tim Duncan has a really popular quote that a baller is made when no one is applauding, coaching, or in the gym with them. It's the time that you spend in there by yourself. And for all players, for my finishers, or people who attack the hoop, it's important that you get your alone time in on the gym. For my shooters, it's important that you get your alone time. It's where you can hear your thoughts, you learn your repetition, you learn how to reset your shot, you focus on your points of release, your follow through, your bending of your knees. You really can lock in on what's going on. It's a part of basketball that's not talked about enough. You need to have alone time with the hoop. You need to have the alone time with the ball. It's very easy to tell the players who don't put in the work by themselves. You can be a great player. You could be a great team player on the floor. You could, but I'm telling you, you're missing something in your game if you don't know what it feels like to be in the gym by yourself. To just work on your layups, work on your dribble packages, your mid range, your high post moves, your ISOs, your triple threats. There's a lot of things you can work on by yourself, and it's important to have that time, because when you run into a rut or get into positions that you're not familiar with, you'll need to have that baller mentality come out. You'll notice with a lot of players who had those type of have these type of experiences, they hug the ball. When you grab it, you smell it, you grip it tight. Tim Duncan grabs the ball, hugs it before he begins to play. Carmelo Anthony gets his fingertips, feels the grip on it. Kobe Bryant did the same thing. LeBron James rubs his hands on the ball before you get it. That's from hours and hours and hours of alone time in the gym. All right. When you get in there, you should be like greeting an old friend. You look at the hoop, look at your square. Your best friend, if you're under the hoop, use that square. The best finishers play off of the backboard. They know how to use the backboard to their advantage. Both hands, you should be able to operate on the right, operate on the left. My shooters, you start inside, take a step, work your way out. If you're really serious about it, you should make three shots in a row before you move back. If you're playing around or you got maybe more of a rush, one, and take a step back. If you don't make it, reset. Don't cheat yourself. This shot right here, and trust me, I was a great shooter. I got a lot of praise for my shooting. This right here, this area I'm highlighting right there for you, that's where the bread and butter of shooting starts. Right there. It's where you get your release. You get to feel it off your fingertips. You don't have to use as much power, so you can see how much control you can have with just the angle of the body. When Curry releases the ball comes up tight through his body, releases up towards his chin, and he holds the follow through. It takes a while for a shooter to get that. You'll see more of an oblong where the release is kind of out, where the ball, this would be the ball comes out like that. It comes up to the release point like that. But really expert shooters, the ball stays tight to the body. You see that? It looks like that. And keep doing that. That looks nice, doesn't it? Whereas with other shooters who have kind of slingshot shots, which can work too, it goes like that. The point is, you should know your shot. You should know your rhythm of your shot, and you should practice it over and over again. And in order to get a feel for it, you must start in and work your way out. It will not work the opposite direction, because you'll get used to bad form and being out of control if you shoot far out and go in. All right. And what you'll notice is that's the best shooters don't jump high off the ground. But actually, I'll need a whole video on shooting. I'm not going to give you all the gems there. But the point is, stay in the gym. If this picture didn't resonate with you, you're not putting in the work that you need. And lastly, for all my players out there, I'll tell all my players this. I cannot promise you that hard work will end with you becoming a professional basketball player. What I can do is promise you that if you put hard work in, no matter what it is, good things will come to you. That's a fact. Remember, lock in, focus, and compete. And lastly, for season 1, these are things we'll be going through. I'll quickly read through them. You have visions, positions, screens, picks, play with a string, play on a string. That'll be a fun one. Fingertips, one of my favorite lessons, one of my favorite coaches in high school. He passed away. His name is actually on the court. He emphasized fingertips, and it took my game to a whole nother level when I started practicing his principles. Coaching style, spacing, posts, passing, getting open, low and wide, triple threat, head up, layup packages, shooting, mindset, and ego, which really can take a player who's not as talented as maybe the next man and really put him on the board or on the coach's radar. All right, so again, my name is Coach X. This is BTC. We are a community. BBall Talk Concepts. Please like and subscribe. Leave your comments down below. We're going to get the business. Keep balling, lock in, focus, and always compete.
love the game. I always love the game. Love the competition. Love competing at the highest level possible. I love knowing that if you don't go out there and put your work in, that you can be embarrassed. That you have to go night in and night out, and you have to prove that you're that player that night.